Has your 4-month-old sleep totally changed and regressed recently? You might be dealing with the 4-month-old sleep regression. Let me share why the 4-month-old sleep regression happens and what you can do to get your baby back to sleeping well. Hi there, my name is Amy. I'm a pediatric sleep consultant and the founder of the Postpartum Party, and I have helped so many parents through the 4-month-old sleep regression. This regression can be a doozy, and it's usually the first one that parents experience. Why does the 4-month-old sleep regression happen? What are the signs that your baby is going through this regression, and how can we get their sleep back on track so that the 4-month-old sleep regression is no longer affecting them and your sleep? First, let me just warn you that the name can be deceiving. The 4-month sleep regression can actually hit your baby between the ages of 3.5 and 5 months. So just know that there is a range that babies can experience the sleep regression. Let me share a little bit of the science of why this regression happens. So around 4 months old, your baby's sleep patterns change to become more similar to an adult's sleep cycles. This is a permanent change that will only happen this one time, but then will affect your baby's sleep going forward. So your newborn may have slept very hard, they may have taken a feed in the middle of the night and then easily gone back to sleep, but now your 4-month-old may have a harder time doing that, depending on what the sleep habits are that you've established. So you and we all wake up several times during the middle of the night. That is how our sleep cycles work, that sometimes we come out of a deep sleep, go into a lighter sleep, but then we seamlessly are able to put ourselves back to sleep without even realizing that we came out of the sleep in the first place. So let's say that your baby fell asleep in your arms, and then you transfer them to their crib or their bassinet. Then they wake up a couple of hours later and the environment is totally different than what they fell asleep in. I like to use this analogy for parents. Imagine that you fell asleep in your bedroom with your cozy pillow and blanket, and then you wake up several hours later and you're in your bathtub. You would be so alarmed and uncomfortable and probably even a little upset. That's what's happening to your 4-month-old when they're falling asleep, maybe on your chest, in your arms, maybe they're even being fed to sleep, so they're falling asleep with a bottle or a breast in their mouth. And then all of a sudden they're waking up and they're in a totally different environment. That can really wake them up and make it really hard for them to fall back asleep because you've changed everything on them. How long does this sleep regression last, and how do you get your baby's sleep back on track? So this regression is a little different than some of the other sleep regressions your baby may experience because, like I said in the beginning, it's a permanent change to their sleep cycles. So what you do going forward with your baby's sleep will really depend on how long the sleep regression lasts. If you're constantly rocking or feeding your baby back to sleep every time they wake up, then the regression is really just going to turn into the new way that they go to sleep and is going to become the norm, even long past that 4-month-old regression phase. What are some of the signs that your baby is struggling with the 4-month-old sleep regression? Here are a few telltale factors. So if your baby is between 3.5 and 5 months and suddenly struggling with sleep, if your baby was sleeping well but suddenly is waking up more frequently in the middle of the night, if your baby is having a harder time going back to sleep after their middle of the night feedings, or if your baby is suddenly having a harder time falling asleep for naps or bedtime. So what can you do to get rid of this 4-month-old sleep regression and get your baby's sleep back on track? There are going to be a lot of things that you can do to help your baby through this regression, but I'm going to share 5 most important things that you can do right now. The first thing that I want you to do, if you haven't already, is to double check your baby's wake windows and their sleep schedule. So I have an entire video about a 4-month-old sleep schedule and what is best for them at that age. But essentially, your 4-month-old should be awake for about 90 minutes to 2 hours before they need to go back down to sleep again. So we want to make sure that we're setting our baby up for the best success possible, which means that they're not going down at night already overtired, which can cause them to have frequent night wakings as well. The next thing I want you to do, if you haven't already, is start a consistent bedtime routine. So doing the same 3 to 5 activities every night in the same order will really help set your baby up for sleep. These events will really start to cue to your baby's brain that sleep is coming. Now, your bedtime routine can be about 20 to 30 minutes, and it can include feeding, bath time, diaper change, pajamas, a book, and a sleep sack. It doesn't have to be anything too elaborate. Just doing those same activities in the same order every night will really help teach your baby what is coming next in the sequence and cue to their brain that sleep is coming. If you've been feeding your baby to sleep, I want you to try moving your feeding 30 minutes before bedtime. This way your baby is not always associating a feeding with sleep, and they can really learn to separate feed from sleep so that they don't need to be fed to sleep when they wake up over and over throughout the night. The next thing I want you to do is to make sure you're putting your baby down awake and not drowsy. This might be backward from what you were doing in the newborn phase. Drowsy but awake is a really common term, especially for newborns. But we want your baby going down awake, and so that they are then putting themselves to sleep in their crib or their bassinet. If you are helping them get drowsy and they're starting to fall asleep in your arms, and then you transfer them from a drowsy state to their crib, then we're already helping them get to sleep a little bit, and they may need that same help when they wake up again in the middle of the night. The best way for your baby to be able to put themselves back to sleep in the middle of the night when they do go in and out of those light and deep sleep cycles is for them to fall asleep initially from an awake state. There are ways that you can soothe your baby while they're in their crib or their bassinet so that they're still able to put themselves awake, but that you're still providing your presence. So I have an entire video on the soothing ladder, and this is one of my favorite ways to transition from you maybe helping your baby fall asleep in your arms or on the breast or bottle to them falling asleep in their crib or their bassinet, but then you're staying right by their side and helping them fall asleep the rest of the way. The last thing that you can do if you're fully ready to kick that sleep regression to the curb and start good sleep habits for your baby is to sleep train your baby. So sleep training is the process of setting everything up to give your baby the best chance possible to fall asleep on their own, and then responding appropriately and with a plan when they do have a hard time falling asleep. If you want more information and a step-by-step guide on how to sleep train, then check out my Baby Dream system in the description box below. It walks you through the entire process of sleep training and is for babies 4 months and up who are in a crib or a bassinet. There are methods that you can use for this age where you're still providing your baby with a lot of comfort and your presence, but still giving them the opportunity to fall asleep in their crib or their bassinet. Your baby falling asleep on their own in the crib or their bassinet, even if they have a little bit of help from you, crib side, can go a long way in helping reduce or eliminate those middle of the night wake-ups. So once your baby learns to fall asleep on their own in their sleep environment, when they wake up in the middle of the night, they're going to be in the same environment that they fell asleep in, and it's going to be that much easier for them to fall back asleep. If you need any help with sleep training and want a step-by-step guide on how to do that for your 4-month-old, then go ahead and check out the Baby Dream system in the description box below, and make sure to use the code for YouTube users. And if you have any questions or are struggling with the 4-month-old sleep regression yourself, go ahead and leave those in the comments below. Sweet dreams!